Warm greetings to one and all. I am Diya Harikumar and today I present before you The Boon of Talent, written by M. Thomas Matthew. Time may be likened to a sieve, a coarse mesh through which very few people and things pass unbruised in the relentless march of days. One must think of the great victories in history. The victors struck terror in the hearts of men. The very earth trembled under their vanquishing might. Years and centuries after such conquests, if one were to think about them, there would be no trace found of these great conquerors or their astounding triumphs. This is the very quality of time, the great conqueror. It throws the shroud of obscurity over the victors and the vanquished. This is the very quality of time, the great emperor. The triumphs, the sound and fury generated are transient. Such is the fate of the intoxication of power and the arrogance it engenders. Only a few realize this, and they, on account of this realization, are incidentally the ones that we still remember. A quote from a piece of Sanskrit literature says, "In the history of humanity over the last 1,000 years, how many poets, how many works of literature have stood the test of time? Merely 2 or 3. However, time, though generally devastating, sometimes smiles leniently. Moreover, the aura of the chosen ones acquires a gleam that brightens as the years progress. Such is their impact that men across generations continue to bow before them in deference. Who are these people evoking respect in our hearts? What makes for their title to sainthood? What are the attributes which urges us to acknowledge them as enduring beacons to humanity? Stephen from the Bible was given insignificant chores to carry out. It was his job to feed the faithful, and this he did without complaining and without giving a cause for complaint. Regardless of his unimportant role, he received a place of paramount importance in the history of the church. I needn't delve into details here. Stephen was not the revealer of divine truths, nor was he enthroned the leader of the first congregation. He was merely a server of food and one who did his job well. Yet the faithful believe that he was the first for whom the doors of heaven were thrown open. It was his faith, unshakable and adamantine faith, that was his sole succor. And what could be a greater gift? The testimony of Chavara's life. It is people of such immovable faith that give their whole self, mind, body and soul to their calling. They, by denying themselves, become exceptional models, matchless paragons for people to emulate. Like seeds cast wantonly on the ground, they expose themselves to the inclemency of weather. However, theirs is not a tale of woe. On the contrary, a life of renunciation turns out to be invaluable as it is committed to serve others. The message here is that those who spend their whole lives in pursuit of selfish gains realize in the end that they have lived in vain. On the other hand, people who live altruistically eventually become great leaders. To borrow a biblical allegory, 5 loaves of bread fed a multitude. And who is to say that the multitude will not continue to be fed? One such person who successfully resisted the ravages of time is Saint Chavara Kuriakose Elias, a Catholic priest who established the first indigenous congregation in India. To say that he did a lot of good for the growth of the congregation would be an understatement. There were, in fact, quite a lot of people who believed that the services were his sole claim to greatness. Some went a step further and said that he was a man of extraordinary astuteness, intelligence and competency. However, people's perception of Chavara has changed over time. He is now seen as a man whose actions are not just limited to a congregation or community. He is widely acknowledged as a role model of a kind not seen elsewhere, who triggered the resurgence in Kerala society. Chavara's life is relevant today on two accounts. The first, of course, being on a spiritual plane. He epitomized the life of a true Christian. He showed utmost fidelity to the vision he had of his faith and did maximum justice to it throughout his life, dauntlessly braving trials and tribulations. Society, by nature, is reluctant to accept anything that stands out from the norm. It is easy to walk the well-trodden path. It is safe and offers no risk. However, people blessed by genius have hearts that forever seek unexplored trails and exults in the adventure that this may bring. Indeed, Providence rewards prodigies who commit to their vision and encourages them by wringing their fears with exhilaration. Chavara's spirituality was not bounded by well-worn rituals. It always sought out new avenues. Such quests are inevitable in the case of a prodigy. The Almighty made sure before clothing Chavara in human garb that he had sown the germ of genius somewhere in his personality. Chavara, on the other hand, intent on his quest, the criticism and obstacles that came along his way only served to accentuate the contours of his divine vision. Second phase. It was a practical application of Chavara's spiritual awareness that shaped the second aspect of his personality. In his view, simply a church would not do. It needed a school as well, and this school should serve all regardless of their place in society. Anything that prevented this from happening should be dealt with and put away with. What I mean to say is that this was the gist of his vision as well as the activities that he carried out, based on his spiritual conviction. One cannot cast aside as mere practical detail the fact that he cultivated paddy to feed the poor who attended his school. It is faith that makes one aspire for better things for one's fellow men, and if this faith moves one towards transforming them according to one's aspirations, then that is spiritual work of the highest order. Therefore, it is pointless to categorize a saint's work into spiritual or practical. This was very apparent to Chavara, and thus it was that he set in motion a strategy that was multi-phased and many-splendored. God's scheme. The seamless confluence of spirituality and practicality is also evident in Chavara's writings. It is not a coincidence of history that Chavara was the first to write and stage a play in Malayalam, a minor epic, a chronicle, and that he encouraged others to do so as well. It is all a part of God's grand scheme of things, undoubtedly. Therefore, a man who illumined an entire era and equipped others to step out into this brave new world in that reassuring light deserves to be studied and understood against the backdrop of a very wide canvas. Comprehensive attempts in this direction would be very welcome and are indeed necessary. Thank you.